Beyond the Bell, Bloomberg's comprehensive cross-platform coverage of the U.S. market close starts right now.
And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick, Caroline Hyde, Taylor Riggs counting you down to the closing bell, here to help take us beyond the bell. Our global simulcast team is hermetically sealed right now in that glass bowl. Carol Massar, Tim Stenovec bringing together our Bloomberg Television, Radio, and YouTube audiences. S&P 500, Carol, right now just short of that record high, but it did trade above it earlier today.
And what do you make of it on days where we got, or a day where we got some disappointing economic news, right? That GDP number, strong, but yet coming in weaker than forecast. Jobless claims numbers coming in higher than forecast. If anything, Jay Powell smack right on the money in terms of what we got from him. He's still worried about jobs. He's still worried about the economy. And that's what the data showed today, Tim.
Yeah, it's about the economic data, but it's also, of course, about earnings. A very busy day of the earnings season. Amazon after the bell. So far, 88.6% of companies that have reported earnings thus far have beat estimates. So a lot of upside surprise. Want to hear from Amazon what they are thinking about this current quarter, especially in the wake of what we saw from some of these other companies that have reported in recent days, Caroline.
Oh, is Amazon reporting everybody?
Yeah, a small company, small retailer.
Just a small bellwether when it comes to consumer sentiment. But also, I'm interested to know if anyone asked them about the return to work policies, what's going on then. We understand that Uber is delaying its office return, mandating vaccines in the United States. That's according to Business Insider. We know that we're going to be expecting to hear from President Biden a little bit later today about the ongoing focus on vaccines, paying people to go and get vaccinated, calling on states to be able to focus on that. New York, apparently, $100 if you haven't yet got it, Taylor.
I'm just trying to figure out when we all get our hands on free money. I certainly want some. Let's take a look at, well, not free money, but some of the gamification in the market. Romaine, a 34.78 on Robinhood.
Yeah, Robinhood, of course, third biggest volume mover here on the day. It's down on the day, down about 8%. Let's get you caught up here real quickly here on the headline indices. 44,1895 on the S&P 500, short of a record high. The Dow Jones Industrial Average at 35,000. NASDAQ up about 0.1%. The Russell 2000 going to finish the day up about 0.7%.
And Romaine, as expected, we are hearing from the president. U.S. mandates vaccines for federal workers, on-site contractors just crossing the Bloomberg terminal. These headlines, small U.S. businesses to get reimbursed for time off for shots, and also the president to review expanding vaccine mandate to all contractors. He's also directing schools to hold pop-up vaccination clinics. So we're getting more from the White House, from the U.S. government when it comes to those rising COVID cases that we're seeing, particularly when it comes to Delta. We're certainly seeing the corporate community starting to pull back just a little bit, Taylor.
We talked about, though, that reflation trade that was back in full effect, Carol, and as, of course, we wait for Amazon earnings to cross the wire. We just recap on a sector level the winners and the losers for our radio audience. It's autos, it's consumer durables, it's semiconductors. You're up anywhere from 1.5% to 4.5%.
Yeah,
Romaine.
And Taylor, we are getting Amazon earnings. Sorry to interrupt you. Net sales in the second quarter, $113.1 billion. The Street, they were looking for $115 billion. So a little bit of a miss here on net sales. As far as EPS, $15.12. The Street was looking for $12.28. So a beat on EPS, a miss on net sales. Operating income, $7.7 billion. Here's web services. Let's get to that here because that pretty much came in on the nose. $14.81 billion for Amazon Web Services. Of course, that's been a big growth story here. Roughly about a 30% jump in the quarter. The Street was looking for 14.18 here. And just here, let's hear the guidance here, guys, Caroline, Taylor. And 3Q net sales, $106 billion to $112 billion. That's the forecast range that Amazon is giving here. The Street was looking for $118.7 billion. So a miss here on that 3Q revenue guidance.
And also giving guidance, assuming $1 billion in costs related to COVID-19. So we seem to be getting this flurry of headlines when it comes to the future of the Delta variant. They're seeing their third quarter operating income, forward-looking guidance, Carol, $2.5 billion to $6 billion. Again, well shy of expectations, which was to be $8 billion. The question is, are we cooling off with our e-commerce? Are we feeling that we actually want to go into stores and buy? And actually, therefore, is the Delta variant going to help Amazon in the longer term?
And it's very interesting, that outlook, especially coming on the GDP numbers, where we saw consumers were spending in the second quarter. Does that continue? I'm also watching T-Mobile. They are crossing the Bloomberg as we speak. Second quarter EPS, we're looking at 78 cents a share. Second quarter adjusted EBITDA of $6.91 billion. That is higher than the forecast of $6.75 billion. Second quarter revenue, $19.95 billion. That, too, is higher, $19.37. Raising raising its 2021 outlook, seeing fiscal year postpaid net adds up 5 million to 5.3 million. And taking a look at that stock right now, I've been watching it since these numbers crossed, unchanged right now. We were looking for about 1 million adds in terms of subscribers. This is a company that finished that big acquisition, becoming a bit stodgy in the words of our own Scott Moritz. You're seeing not too much movement so far, Tim.
Yeah, I want to get back to Amazon because this is the one we're following closely. Just to recap some numbers, Amazon sees third quarter net sales 106.0 billion to 112 billion. That's missing estimates of 118.7 billion. Some commentary from new CEO Andy Jassy saying to investors over the past 18 months, our consumer business has been called on to deliver an unprecedented number of items, including PPE, food, and other products that helped communities around the world cope with the difficult circumstances of the pandemic. At the same time, AWS has helped so many businesses and governments maintain business continuity, and we've seen AWS growth re-accelerate as more companies bring forward plans to transform the business and move to the cloud. That's according to Amazon's new CEO, Andy Jassy. He's only been in the position for a few weeks. No, again, not covering the quarter that they are reporting because he just started, but this most recent quarter, including Prime Day as well. And the company had some great things to say about Prime Day as well. $1.9 billion on products from third-party sellers, Caroline.
Yeah, during the spend a dollar, get a $10 promotion. Amazon advertising as well. This is a growth area for Amazon as they look to bring advertising within the actual means of buying. 40 new features, self-service capabilities they talk of overall. They're supporting communities across the board. But I think it's going to be the costs that are involved in COVID-19 at the moment. The fact that they're seeing $1 billion in extra, and also the pull forward of what many have been doing in terms of AWS spending and in terms of e-commerce spending in general, Taylor.
I mean, huge. I think it is certainly the cost side of things, Romaine. I was really keen to see if we'd get an update on the MGM announcement about $8.5 billion, and indeed we don't. They continue to talk about Peacock and NBC Universal streaming service and integration further of Prime Video, but I don't see anything yet on MGM, Romaine.
And you wonder when size really starts to work against this company. Again, you're talking about $100+ billion in sales here, $113 billion in sales here. There's only one other company that has larger quarterly sales, and that's Walmart, which is only at about 138, 140 here. Even Apple is at 81 billion here. So when you talk about the scale of this company and what they're managed to pull in terms of actual cash that flows through the business here, and the idea that they are converting that to profits as they seem to be able to do, but you can't really have 30, 40% growth rates from that base, can you?
No, it doesn't seem like you can, certainly based on this report. Amazon free cash flow, you talked about cash flow, free cash flow decreasing to $12.1 billion for the trailing 12 months. Another headline crossing. The other thing is, that sales disappointment, that outlook disappointment, this is what we want to hear about. What happens as maybe the economy starts to get back to more normal? What are the growth rates we're going to see? And that disappointment for the third quarter in sales certainly playing out. The other thing is, keep in mind, this stock is up 22% from its March low. So the expectations, Caroline, really built in.
It's also worth noting there's not a single sell rating on Amazon, 54 buys, and also not a single sell rating on Pinterest, which numbers are coming out at the moment. Second quarter monthly active users, 454 million. Well less than the estimate of 484 million. Wow. Now, this is a company that actually gets most of its growth internationally. This is a company that has more than 380 million users internationally. It's not that big a presence in the United States, therefore. We see a second quarter adjusted EBITDA coming in 178 million. That's better than expected. Second quarter adjusted earnings per share, 25 cents. That also was a beat. Their revenue, 613 million. This is again a beat, but it's user growth that is the concern.
Look at that stock in the after hours, down 11%.
Company, more or less, right? I mean, but I mean, we saw relatively decent numbers out of Facebook and out of Twitter with regards to the advertising. So is it that they're not migrating? They're just not migrating there?
We'll ask. I would argue maybe Mandeep Singh, one of our top BI analysts, who has been killing it when it comes to Twitter and Snap, the read-through through Alphabet, and then, of course, the lack of the read-through that we got through Facebook. And, Tim, I don't want to bring us whiplash, but with Amazon just trying to sort of tie in some of these big tech companies, I mean, Credit Suisse came into this earnings report saying that Amazon was in a harvest cycle. After a period of intense investment in capacity, they thought that there was like a huge upside here that clearly we don't quite see yet, Tim.
Yeah, I think it's the dour guidance. That's really what has people selling off right now. Shares are down 5% as that third quarter sales forecast misses estimates. I just want to go back to Pinterest very briefly because the stock is moving significantly lower on those monthly active users users disappointing. This is a different kind of company than Facebook and Twitter. It's a different kind of advertising company. It really appeals to new home ownership, right? People moving into new homes, people decorating their homes, people buying homes. This is not a great quarter for Pinterest. Wow. No,
down 13% as we speak. We've got Gilead down about 0.2%, Amazon down almost 5%, and T-Mobile going in the other direction, just up 0.5%, following all of those earnings. All right, that's our earnings coverage on this Thursday. That's going to do it for our cross-platform coverage on Bloomberg Radio, Bloomberg TV, and on YouTube. We'll see you again, same time, same place tomorrow.